All right, all right. Welcome in the A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast. I am Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, you are probably tortured and hoping that Tony Vitello doesn't leave Tennessee, just like me and Zach. But we thank you for watching us. We talk everything Vols every week here on the pod. It's ridiculous every single week, as we all know. But if you want to hear more of it, A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. Rate, review, and you got to subscribe. If you do that, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. We didn't go live on Monday this week because of this whole Tony Vitello situation. We wanted to see if he would make a decision, and he still hasn't, but we're going to talk about it regardless. And I lost my spot. Go to YouTube, A to Z Sports, Tennessee Volunteers on YouTube. Subscribe there. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Do all the YouTube stuff. You know what to do. And join in at Charlie_Burris at ZachTNT at A to Z Sports. Facebook.com/A to Z Sports. Sports.com for everything that Zach writes. That's most of it, I think. We just can't. It can never be normal, Zach. It's never gonna happen where Tennessee just has a legendary coach and that's it. Then it's great. Because, I mean, you even had Pat Summitt, horrifically, tragically, dementia, has to end her career early. It was terrible. One of the saddest things that has ever happened in Tennessee sports. Finally, football has finally gotten back on track. Who knows how this whole Josh Heupel thing ends, although he's not winning you a championship. We're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. But Tony Vitello, the most generational special coach that you've had since Pat Summitt. And it turns out he's friends with Buster Posey, and Buster Posey is doing the hiring for the San Francisco Giants, and now the San Francisco Giants are going to try to take away our coach. What's up, Zach? What's up, man?
Man, this weekend, Saturday specifically, was a reminder that no matter how good things are at Tennessee, all it takes is just one day to take you right back to some of those dark times. And I'm not trying to suggest we're going through dark times or going to go through dark times. I don't know what's going to happen, but Saturday was one of the least fun days as a Tennessee fan I've had, I don't know, since 2021, early 2021, whenever we were going through the Pruitt stuff. It was unfortunate, I guess, how that whole day played out. But, here we are, and we'll see what happens here as we go forward.
So for anybody that doesn't know, if you're living under an absolute rock, on Saturday, we're going to preview the Kentucky game. Yes, football is still happening this week, crazily. The only thing we're talking about.
They haven't canceled the game while we deal with this?
Please cancel the game. For my mental health. But Tony Vitello, it's kind of been weeks where just a low rumble has been going on, and just like, did Tony go out to San Francisco to talk to the Giants about this job? And then they had honed in on a different candidate, a former Giants player, right?
Yes, who's with your favorite team, the Rangers, right now in their.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Nick
Yeah. That is true. But he said no.
Yeah.
And so they fall to Tony Vitello. It turns out he was actually talking to them. And it turns out that him and Buster Posey are boys. And, of course, Drew Gilbert is there. And all of these sort of connections. Actually, a number of players from Tennessee that are in that pipeline.
4 of them, I believe, right now with the Giants.
But Gilbert has actually made it all the way to the big leagues, to the team, and has been highly regarded. I think they really liked what they saw out of him this season, sort of the energy he brought.
Yeah, you can thank my favorite team for that, for sending him there for a player. Yeah, him and Blake did well.
Way to go, Mets! This is all the Mets' fault.
Yeah, technically, maybe.
They sent the first domino down the way. But it comes out on Saturday from Ken Rosenthal at The Athletic that he's the main guy for the Giants, and the Giants want him. And then you got other reporters chiming in. Oh, it's going to be 24 to 72 hours. The Giants have laid it out for him. He's now making a decision, and it's up to Tony. Kind of heard some back and forth there that maybe there's negotiations going on, that Tony is laying out, here's what I would need to actually leave this job. And there's also been, it's so much. The context here is now 40 layers deep in terms of everything that's been going on. Tony has been showing up at practices and acting as if nothing is going on. It's been completely normal. It's 3 of these now. Where it's just like, yeah, he was there at the scrimmage. He's hanging out in there. He coached the team. He didn't say, diddly squat about it. Now, he did address the team before the Ken Rosenthal thing came out, and he said, supposedly to the team, he said, you're going to hear reports that come out about me going to the Giants. I have signed nothing. And if I go to the Giants, you'll hear about it from me. This is supposedly what he said. The thing that has gotten people hung up is that apparently also in that meeting, he said something along the lines of, no matter what I choose, you'll be in good hands. Don't know if that's just him assuming that if he leaves, Josh Elander will be the guy. We're going to talk about all that. But as of, let's just move all the way forward to today, because that's what really matters. Tennessee had a scrimmage, practice at 1, scrimmage at 2:30, and Tony was there as usual. And he's just hanging out and doing his thing. And all of the San Francisco Giants fans are tortured waiting on their deal. It's kind of embarrassing for them to a certain extent, of just like, you're getting kind of big boyed by a college baseball coach. And then for Tennessee fans, it's just completely torturous, where it's the best coach on campus, the best coach you've had at Tennessee since Pat Summitt, a generational guy, probably will be regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time if he stays. And, it's just this limbo for everyone that's just torture. And we thought about putting this show off until something happened, but when is it going to happen? When are we? I'm hoping that we see in these comments from everybody watching, eventually we'll start getting comments like, Tony's staying. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm praying. Please drop in with comments that it's officially been announced that the Giants are moving on or something. It's just crazy. Only at Tennessee, Zach. It only happens here.
Oh yeah. It's never normal. And this whole thing, like, to back up a little bit, about a little over a year and a half ago, I wrote an article about, like, the only reason that fans should ever worry about losing Vitello, the only job they should worry about losing him to would be MLB. And I wrote in that article, it would be an unprecedented move. I was like, but all it takes is one team to say, we're going to be the first team to try this, right? Like, eventually it was probably going to happen. And I went back and read some of the comments from, like, the Facebook post and stuff on that, and there was a lot of name calling towards me for even suggesting that. But I was like, I think this is the only scenario that he would ever leave Tennessee for, and I really didn't think it would ever happen. But again, you never say never. Even through this last couple of weeks, that's kind of what we kept saying, was you never say never, but we don't think it'll happen. Ultimately, though, if this was any other school, any other coach, I'm sure some opposing fans will disagree with this, and there's really no way to prove it one way or the other. But, if Tony Vitello was the head coach at, I don't know, where, Missouri, his alma mater, maybe that's not a good example, but if he's the head coach at just, Arkansas back then, even Arkansas, right? I don't think it's the same culture as what you have at Tennessee. The fact that it is this hard of a decision for him to leave tells you how good of a job it is at Tennessee, how great the environment is, the fan base. I mean, it's everything that Vitello's wanted it to be. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there about his relationship with Danny White, NIL stuff, and I'm sure that's all a factor. But clearly, that's not what's driving him away. As Austin Price, it was on 104.5 The Zone this morning. It's like he mentioned, he's like, every coach wants more. Right now, you need more. You got to have more to compete. I think it's this fan base and just the whole athletic department, the football team, everything. I think Vitello loves every bit of it. I mean, you see that with his actions. He's at these games. He's a part of it. He's rooting on, the other teams. Like, he's a bit of a fan of. He's like the Bruce Pearl was back in the day. Whenever Bruce Pearl was the basketball coach, it's a very similar deal, and I think that speaks volumes to what this job is. Now, me personally, at this point in my life, I think. I'm a little bit younger than Tony Vitello, but I think that coaching at Tennessee would be the perfect job, right? I know it's hectic, but he's built for it. He's not married and doesn't have kids, so he's got the energy and the time to put into it. But you're home almost every day, except for a few weekends in the spring when you got to go travel to an SEC, series on the road somewhere. Otherwise, you're at home throughout the week. You get to kind of do what you want to do there. You're not in a hotel 81 games out of the year, 81 nights out of the year, like you are in MLB, where you're on the road constantly. I mean, it's kind of like a Groundhog Day deal, right? And if you're a baseball lifer, you want that, I guess. You love that quality of life. I think the job at Tennessee, tops the quality of life in MLB, especially considering the fact that MLB managers aren't that highly paid. I mean, he's going to get a raise if he goes there because they'll have to do that. That's a lot of managers not making that much. I mean, he's making more than some current managers right now in MLB. So it's not a money thing. I think this really is just but Vitello grew up loving baseball. I think every little baseball loving kid, every boy from age, 8 to 16 or whatever, dreams of playing Major League Baseball, right? Very few get to do it. Very few get to that point. Vitello couldn't get there as a player. If he can get there as a manager, I think he would kick himself the rest of his life saying, what if he turns this down? I think that's what he's struggling with right now. And, we can all say what we would do in that situation, but until you're in that situation, I don't think you can really have any sort of idea. So I can't imagine what Vitello's going through right now. And I guess we got a glimpse of it. You shared it with us earlier, the way that he was supposedly pondering his decision, if you want to go with that, which I thought was the funniest thing I've ever heard.
So Tony Vitello, local media personality, is close with Vitello, or as close as like kind of a media member can be. He has him on a show pretty frequently and talks about how he texts Tony and stuff. Tony Vitello texts Tony Vitello. And I was listening in on the Twitter Spaces, and during the Twitter Spaces, it was during a commercial break, but you could still hear Basilio on there. He said that a source told him that Vitello showed up at the facility and then sat in the hot tub for an hour with the lights off. And that was how he made his entrance this morning at the facility, where it's just like, you couldn't make this more, if that's true. Of course, it's the source, but
it's true. We're believing it's true. It's part of the lore now.
I could 100% see that being the case. And you can't pay for this kind of high drama. Like, it's just crazy. This guy is tortured by this. And from everything that I've seen, it seems to be a two-pronged thing. It's what you said, where it's the big leagues. The big leagues are calling. And it's an unbelievable opportunity, this chance for him to be a trailblazer. And he's such a guy that walks to the beat of his own drum. And I mean, what a chance to go to the pros and do this crazy thing that literally no one has ever done. It might flame out and be a complete failure, but hey, at least you did it. But also at Tennessee, supposedly he has a strained relationship with Danny White. Do they hate each other? That's not what I've seen, heard, what people have said. Reporters have talked about this through this process. It seems like it's more just some things have happened that have put them at odds. And so they're just not buddies. And they're just, kind of, Vitello was not his hire. Mm-hmm. Vitello has almost showed him up, which I think is interesting, because I think Danny White has an ego that's 1,000 feet tall and wide across. And
massive. You almost have to in that position. So
you do.
It's not a complete negative.
He's made a lot of good hires in his career, and he's supremely confident in what he does. He made Tennessee way better. Way, way, way better. I mean, he's the best AD you've had since folks in the 90s. And so sort of rightfully so, uber confident. And supposedly from some of the stuff that's gone around, he would be okay seeing Vitello walk. Is that actually true? I don't know. It's just what's been going around.
And I would cut in real quick just for interrupt your thought for a half second. I think part of that stems from the fact that Vitello is such a wild card, with media, with things that he says. He's not afraid to say what's on his mind. And nobody, Heupel's not like that at Tennessee. We talk about his press conferences all the time. Rick Barnes is a little like that, but it's in a much more subdued. I mean, Rick Barnes is a veteran. He's been around the sport for so long. He knows what to say and what not to say. It usually revolves around his own players. But Vitello, you really never know what that guy's going to say at any point. And he does all kinds of media. He'd probably come on this podcast if we asked him to. Maybe we should once all this, the dust settles on all this, because he'll pop up on podcasts constantly. So I think that might be a little bit of the White Vitello dynamic.
Yes, he's not a company man, which I love about Tony Vitello, because I kind of fancy myself the same way. Like when I was in media, created my own website. I didn't like being kind of held down. Had behind the scenes, not a lot of people know this, but I had a number of clashes with people when I was in media, and I just loved it. I love that that's who Vitello is, and that he just is so authentically himself always. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it almost makes me want to cry, man. Like it just has been so refreshing and incredible to have a guy like that around Tennessee after the complete and utter clown show that has walked through this place in the last 20 years of just idiot after idiot after idiot. And the guy that preceded him was not an idiot. He just wasn't a good baseball coach. So I'll say that just to clarify. I'm not talking about what was his name? The last baseball coach.
What was
Dave Serrano?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about him. He just was not a great baseball coach, but it just is this crazy breath of fresh air. Then he wins a national title. Like on top of being this incredible magnetic personality, he's winning titles. He's the best coach you've had since Pat Summitt.
He's a star.
Yeah, period. And it's why an MLB franchise wants this guy, and they don't want Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson now has more national titles than Tony Vitello, but there's a reason they're not coming after Jay Johnson, because he's just not that sort of innovator, out front, like walking to the beat of his own drum kind of guy. And you even heard, so this was also from Basilio today, like Vitello has ingratiated himself so much in this community locally. Somebody called in on that show with Basilio today, and he said that I think it was his grandchild had cancer, and that Vitello just periodically would send this young girl videos encouraging her and saying nice things and send her gear and all of these things. And that at the end of it, what he would always say is, "Don't tell anybody I did this." Always. And he's just out there doing stuff like that, just being an angel to kids with cancer in Knoxville. It's incredible. And it just, it would tear a hole in my soul to have this guy leave. It's not even the titles. I mean, it is the title. It's the titles. Look, a big piece. It's the titles.
But baseball.
It's way more than that.
Yeah.
It's way more than that.
It's the journey that we enjoy watching college baseball from February to May and June, and you didn't have that type of enjoyment watching the sport before Vitello, was at Tennessee and took the program to these levels. And whatever happens with Vitello, I'm going to be a fan of the guy because I like what he's about. I think a lot of opposing fans don't understand him at all. They're like, the way he handles things and his temper and attitude. I'm like, that's not what I see from Vitello at all. It's the authenticity, like you said. I mean, he is a great person. He's extremely humble. He always deflects credit. He's very self-deprecating. He never wants to put the spotlight on himself. And Kyle here in the comments mentions is Tony is beloved in the whole state of Tennessee. It won't be like that in California. That's true, but I don't think he cares. I don't think that's what he's in it for. So I don't think that'll be a factor in his decision necessarily. I think just be careful about the way I word that. I think he really cares and appreciates Tennessee fans. And if anything sways him to stay, I think it will be like those Tennessee fans showing up today and showing their support. I think he cares about that, but I don't think he seeks out that kind of stuff, right? I guess that's the way I should phrase it. And the other thing that Kyle said here in the comments that I thought was appropriate was he doesn't want to see, Vitello go to MLB and flame out in 3 years and then come back with another program. And I think, unfortunately, I think that's probably the most likely scenario. And that's not to doubt Vitello at all. Look, there's only so much you can do as a baseball manager. I'm a baseball guy at heart, and I'm every time the Mets lose a game, I'm like, why did this idiot manager make this decision or that decision? Well, it's really, if your guy, throws a strike in that situation or doesn't make an error, you win the game. So many things are out of your control when it comes to winning baseball games. And you can change the culture. You can create good vibes in the clubhouse, and that's what really leads to winning championships. But you can't control the outcomes and the results. Sometimes we talk about it all the time. It's a weird sport. So I do think that's the most likely scenario. And if he came back and he was at Arkansas or something, I mean, that would be tough because I don't want to dislike Vitello, and I wouldn't, It's almost like the Bruce Pearl thing. Like I never really disliked Bruce Pearl as he was at Auburn. You wanted to beat Auburn, but you kind of understood kind of how the situation happened. And even years later down the road with Lane Kiffin, it's that one's a little different. But even now, I get it as I'm older. Understanding that like, hey, that was home for him, USC, and that opportunity. What would you do? If you didn't take a chance at that job, and those are things that it's hard to see that side of it sometimes when you root for Tennessee and you want to see the program do well, and you're like, how could you leave this? But it's not just Tennessee in the world, right? Like I think that's something we have a hard time understanding at times. So, if Vitello makes this decision, I'll understand it. I won't hold it against him. Whether it would be the right decision or not, I mean, only time would tell on that. It's hard to know how things would play out, but that would be tough to swallow. I agree with Kyle. That would be tough if he flames out and then comes back to another SEC program, because he would be the hottest. I mean, everybody would be trying to hire him, and
it would be Rick Pitino with Louisville.
Yeah,
leaving Kentucky, going to the Celtics, coming back to Louisville, winning a national title at Louisville. Like that's the epitome of brutality, as John Rothstein would say. It just is. I could not stomach that. And those managers, they're just not long for this world in those jobs. Now he may stay in the MLB and just continue there. He might not come back to college.
Yeah, he could go be a bench. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities beyond that. Yeah.
But I mean, you have like a situation like with the Rangers, my beloved MLB team, like Bruce Bochy wins a World Series 2 years ago, and he didn't get fired. But I would say his retirement was not optional, basically, more or less. Even in that situation, you flame out, you can win a World Series and flame out. And then it would be right back on the table for him coming back to a LSU, to a Arkansas, to a whatever. And it would just make me so sick if something like that happened. Like
it'd be tough. And with the Giants, I mean, the Giants are going to make this next hire. I mean, when Buster Posey was there, they won 3 World Series during his time with the San Francisco Giants. This is a franchise that wants to win. Like they're not. I mean, they're playing second, third fiddle to the Padres and the Dodgers in that division right now. So they're not hiring Vitello just to have a good time and it's a Hail Mary. Like they're hiring him if this goes through and they hire him, they're hiring him to go win. And that's a daunting task right now in that division. So the odds are stacked against him from day one.
And I would agree with Sam in the comments here. He said, I don't think Vitello is an elite game day manager, but he's an elite recruiter and personality. I don't think it translates to MLB. Would be the worst thing he ever did. I agree. And that's not to cast aspersions on Tony Vitello in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, he won a national title. It doesn't matter. He's done it all. So he clearly, as a game day manager, he's more than adequate. But I do agree.
It's a much different deal too, managing in MLB. Yes. I mean, you have the 3-out rule or 3-batter rule for relief pitchers that you don't have.
Yep.
In college baseball. I mean, there's all kinds of little.
And he does. There. He has done plenty in his time in Tennessee when we, week to week, we micromanage it here on the show. There's been plenty of times where we're like, Tony, what were you doing? Like that, where we've just kind of been perplexed by some of the stuff this guy does managing games. And it fit so perfectly with a kind of just personality driven, little goofy team like that 24 team. It was the perfect hand in glove, his goofy coaching style mixed with this goofy team. National championship. And obviously, I mean, the elite talent that he's your Christian Moores, your Blake Burks, Kevin Keelan, Andrew Fisher, like all these dudes. But the bottom line is it would just be heartbreaking. Like truly, it would just, and I don't think that Danny White realizes that. And that there is before I get on this whole Danny White thing, just quickly, there is an update. The scrimmage has ended. And they walked off the field. This is from Ben McKee. He said, scrimmage wrapped up. Tony Vitello walked out to shortstop, thanked all the fans that were on the porches. I believe I saw him blow a kiss. And then Ben said, quote, thank you all. We got a meeting. Love y'all. From Vitello.
Oh, maybe we'll see here soon.
Maybe that meeting, if it starts leaking out from the players one way or the other.
Yeah, with the Danny White thing, I think as good as he's been, this would be something that, when he was hired, it was 21, and 21 was a pretty good pretty good baseball year. Like that was really the start of this just momentum that this program has. You know, the grand slam against Wright State that summer with Drew Gilbert. I mean, so Danny White doesn't really know what baseball was on this campus before Vitello. So I think he thinks, oh, you just go find another guy. And to your point earlier, it's not just the wins and I mean, it is the wins and championships again, but it's not. It is the personality that he's injected into this program that really makes this thing such a juggernaut right now. And that is, I mean, you can't replace that. I mean, that is lightning in a bottle. John Curry just got lucky. I don't think John Curry had any idea what he was hiring in 2017 when he got Vitello. We didn't. I don't think anybody did. And we know that guy's terrible at hiring coaches. So to think you're going to replicate that is insane. And if Elander takes over, which is the most likely scenario, and I do think that's probably what would happen, is if Vitello goes to MLB, they're probably going to pair him with a veteran like ex-manager as a bench coach. So they can help him. I mean, that's typically what happens with like rookie managers in MLB anyway. That's just kind of how they do things. But whether it's Elander or whatever happens there, like Elander's going to do it his way. Even though he's been with Vitello, he's not Vitello. And there might be a lot of things that remain the same, but he has to, for it to work. And this is what I said about like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. You have to do it your way. You can't try to do it like the other guy because you're not the other guy. Like that's not being true to who you are. You got to be authentic. And Elander's not going to be Vitello because they're different people. And whoever you hire is not going to be Vitello. So you're not just going to be able to replicate what Vitello's done. Like it's going to be different in some form or fashion. Good or bad, I don't know. It's impossible to know, but it won't be the exact same.
Well, I need Danny to understand this as if he's listening. Danny, if you're listening. And maybe he has some minions that listen like Butch Jones used to do.
Yeah.
If you did, but he really did used to do that. Have people listen to everything in media. And
Butch probably still does listen to Tennessee stuff.
Without a doubt.
In fact, we know he does because he commented on it last year. That's
never change Butch. But if Danny were listening, like please understand if the talk that has been going around is true, where Danny would be fine. I'm sure Danny is extremely confident in the fact that he could hire the right guy. I feel like Elander is actually kind of a typecast dude that he would hire, honestly. When you think about up and coming, sort of innovative hire or whatever. But maybe he is uber confident like that. But Danny, please understand. I would like to see you fired 10 times over before I would ever want to see Tony Vitello leave this campus. Please understand that. And I don't mean that as in like, I hate Danny White. I mean it like that's just the truth. This guy means way more to this whole deal than you do. Like, thank you for Josh Heupel. He's been good. He's resurrected the football program. Kim Caldwell looks like she's going to be a good hire. But I would see you get thrown out 1,000 times before I want to see Tony Vitello leave the University of Tennessee. Again, no offense. I'm not. A lot of people have been going around being like, Danny White's enemy number one. Blah, 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 blah. Danny White has a job to do, and he's done it pretty well at this point. But like, just understand that. Like, that's the kind of sentiment where I don't care about you, Danny. Maybe you can make a good hire. This guy means like the world to Tennessee baseball and a ton to the Knoxville community. And that's what will be walking out the door. Not that, and at the same time, there may be nothing Danny White could do about it. So and you got to acknowledge that because it may just be Vitello's dream.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of that. I think it's not just one thing. There's several things there colliding. You know, Tiffany there in the comments says, you know, what if the worst case scenario happens and Tony leaves? Couldn't Tennessee get whoever they wanted? Probably, but at the same time, and this is such an unprecedented thing, like college baseball coaches don't leave in October. You're going through fall stuff. It's going to be really hard to get somebody to leave their current job at this time of the year for Tennessee when you start games in 4 months. 4 months from now, they'll be playing at the end of February, middle of February, whenever it starts. So we're speculating. We think Elander would get the job. We don't know if they would have some sort of coach search. It's just, again, it's unprecedented, so we don't know how it would play out, but this just isn't something that's happened. I mean, nobody's done this before, so there's really no playbook to go by.
Yeah, It's it's just crazy. I can't believe this is really happening, but Elander might be your only choice, frankly, to your
He's
point.
earned it. I mean, he could have left for jobs by now. I mean, he deserves it. I know he would be supported. I think most fans would be pretty happy with that. And then you just kind of see where it goes.
We'll see.
But maybe he stays and it doesn't come to this.
I was really hoping that there would be, obviously, I was hoping it would be before we ever got on here. Apparently, they're in some meeting right now. That's from the horse's mouth. That's what Tony Vitello said. They have a meeting right now. So who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, you'd think it would come out from the Giants side if it's done. And you had Passan out there saying it was gonna be 72 hours. It's been 72 hours. I can't hear you.
There.
I think you got like turned down or something.
Yeah, something happened there.
Yeah.
I know there was that going around yesterday about Game 7 of the ALCS was yesterday, and MLB doesn't like news to upstage, standalone events like that. And that is true. That's in the past. Things have still come out, but they try not to let that happen. So at this point right now, this is such a unique deal. Like Buster Posey is close with Vitello. Oddly enough, his brother-in-law is on the football staff at Tennessee, who played under Heupel at Oklahoma. It's such a small world, the whole thing. Caden Cochran, an offensive analyst that works with the tight ends, who's married to Buster Posey's sister. But, maybe Posey, out of respect for Vitello, is trying to keep this as quiet as possible. I agree with you, though. I would think it would come out from the Giants side first before it comes out from any other side. But I don't know. I mean, you would think it would come out one way or the other because the Giants, like you said earlier, kind of a tough look for them. Like they're just waiting on this college baseball coach. So if he was going to say no, if he would have said no by now, they would have went on to somebody else, and you would have heard it from that side. You would have heard, hey, the Giants are talking to this candidate now. It's their third choice, but this is who they're talking to. Because I think there's still 7 MLB openings right now. So it's not like they can just wait around. Because if they don't get Vitello, then they've got to go on to the next choice. There's going to be competition for those guys as well. So it's really weird the way this whole thing's playing out.
Yeah, every part of it. And, it's Vols Titans in the comment says he has the right to more money for NIL. He's proven and should get whatever he wants. Yeah, there was that talking point that maybe NIL money got allocated away from them to women's basketball because that's Danny's hire. Like, Vitello is not hurting for, but maybe he is hurting for NIL money. I'm not totally sure, but he's got like the number 1 recruiting class in America right now. What are you gonna say? Like, one of the most elite transfer classes. It's not like, even if he's not getting adequate NIL money, it's not like it's hurting him immensely or anything like that. But I would agree. Give the man whatever he wants.
I think it's like Austin Price said on Ramon and Will this morning on 104.5 The Zone that it's just every coach is going to push for more because it constantly. I mean, the NIL era is what, like 3-4 years old at this point, and the numbers just are increasing at such a rapid rate that you have to keep asking for more because you got to go beat this program, and then that program's got to go beat you, and it just. There's no regulation on it, and we've talked about that a bunch, and so that kind of leads to this kind of stuff where it's all about who can get the most money. So of course Vitello's going to push for more money, and they're trying to get the Lady Vols program back to where it's supposed to be, and they're kind of behind the 8 ball on that, so they've got to maybe put a little extra into that to give it a boost. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with that too because you want to see that do well. You really hate to see it come down to one program versus the other, but we've talked about this before a lot in the past. Can you afford to be in everything school? Maybe we're seeing some of that come to a head here.
Yeah. It's tough to make everybody happy to the point of like, I don't know that I'm going to hate Danny White coming out of this. I won't be happy, but yeah, it is a near impossible task in this day and age to give everybody everything that they want. Because I believe in Kim Caldwell. I think giving her a bunch of recruiting money is great, and it looks like the team she has right now is pretty powerful, and like that's exciting. I want to see the Lady Vols get back to where they need to be. But if you're going to lose the best coach you got on campus, because of that. And I don't actually think that that's like the number one cause or anything like that. But if that were the case, give that money to Tony Vitello. Okay, like let's be honest.
But on the flip side, they have put so much into that program, the stadium renovations. I mean, there's a lot of energy, the block party stuff for the games. I know that's not a big deal, but they have put. It's not like they're just totally ignoring the baseball program by any means. So I don't know. This stuff, it's all over the place, and hopefully we get a resolution here soon. Hopefully Vitello stays. You know, I don't know what he wants. I don't know if he knows what he wants. Clearly, he's conflicted about this. The one thing I would hope that he kind of think, and I think he will think on this because I think he's a very a deep thinker. I think he considers lots of things, and I think there's a lot more depth to him as a person than a lot of people realize. MLB isn't for everyone. Like he might not, and a lot of comments in the stream have said this today. He might not be suited for that, style of managing. He might that version of Vitello might not be the best version of Tony Vitello. He might have to change kind of who he is, and then he's not nearly as effective. I don't think he can go be the same guy in MLB that he is in the SEC because it's just two different styles of play. It's a different type of player that you're coaching and managing. There's just so much difference there in the cultures. I don't think it directly translates. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he excels at it. We don't know until he does it. But my gut feeling is that he would have to change kind of who he is, and he wouldn't be nearly as effective, and it just wouldn't go well. And, maybe college baseball is just where he's meant to be. Maybe it's not. I guess we'll find out. But that would be something I would hope he considered. Just because MLB is an option doesn't mean it's the best option.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, I hope that this is really just a power play to get more for himself.
I don't think it is.
I don't either. And so I think it is just truly, it's probably tearing this guy up inside, and he's just going to have to make a decision and just.
He's going to be in tears one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever he decides. I can guarantee, because he's an emotional guy. I think that's part of what makes him who he is. And I think you're going to see an emotional Tony Vitello when he does speak, because he will speak at some point. And, yeah, I think it'll be pretty authentic, whatever we see from him.
I love this headline. Well, obviously, I'm just refreshing Vitello's name on Twitter just to make sure we don't miss it.
He's still in the hot tub?
He's still in the hot tub. No, but obviously, we just said Ben McKee quoted Vitello walking off the field saying, we have a meeting. Love you all. And then Tennessee Volunteers on Sports Illustrated said, Tony Vitello expected to hold meeting following Tennessee baseball scrimmage.
It's everything he's done. Like every time there's been like a little sighting of him, you see the picture on Twitter, on social media. It's like the back of his head or something. It's like, yep, there. When we were breaking it in our behind the scenes here, we were breaking down a photo of him in our group text earlier of him.
Oh yeah,
holding a cell phone, walking. And like that looks like an anxious waiting on a phone call walk there.
I mean, this is not the same as the Pruitt hiring, but it's not too far off. Yeah. I mean, it's big time shades of that whole circus.
We've been here before. We know what we're doing.
Oh yeah,
all Tennessee fans have been here before. We know the drill.
I mean, if folks remember back, we tracked a plane,
many planes.
many planes. But one in particular, and then media members went and sat in the parking lot at the airport and waited to see who got off of it. And all we have been there and done that. All right. So we'll see. Obviously, if something happens before we get off here, we'll break in and talk about it. But let's just finish up with this, Zach. That Alabama game absolutely sucked.
Yes.
And we should fire Heupel and especially Tim Banks. No, it did suck. It absolutely sucked. Me and Crompton litigated it on the postgame show. We don't really have the time to do that here as much, but it sucked out loud. And now you're going to Kentucky, a night road game. Now, the only night road game that Josh Heupel has had really any consistent success in is against Kentucky, thankfully. And so after that Alabama game, how are you feeling, Zach?
I was real quick. Ben Hall there asked about the if baseball managers really don't care about their manager. I haven't been in a clubhouse. I'm not a pro baseball player. I will say I think MLB managers get too much blame and too much credit often. I think they're really there just to steady the ship. Those guys are pros. They know what to do. You're not developing them really at that point. Anyway, but as far as Tennessee, just real quick on the Alabama game because it's fresh on the mind. That whole game comes down to that last play before halftime. That pitch six obviously completely changed the game. I've went back and I've watched this whole sequence a couple of times now, and my biggest takeaway is that watching it live, I thought Heupel completely screwed that situation up with the clock. I still feel that way a little bit. I think he's a little cavalier in wasting too much time. If you leave them 15 seconds in a timeout at the end, it's not the end of the world. If they throw in Hail Mary, damn, it happened. I don't know what to say, but he's cutting it too close, and it's twice now that he's cost himself a chance. With the Mississippi State game, luckily you won in overtime. You completely botched the end of regulation there where you didn't even really get a playoff there at the end. This situation was a little different because he almost played it perfect. But I think the big misstep, if you go back and watch, is when they picked up the first down inside the 2-yard line there, and it was 1st and goal. Clock stopped because of the first down, right? Inside 2 minutes of the final 2 minutes of the half. So the clock stops. 13 seconds to go. If you get lined up, as soon as they spot the ball, you can pretty much snap it. So you snap it, you spike it. 12 seconds. Let's say 11 seconds left. You got 11 seconds, 2 timeouts, and 3 downs to play with because it would have been 2nd down. You can run 2 plays, whatever you want to run. Running play, split out wide, whatever you want to do. The whole playbook is open at that point for 2 plays, and you got the 2 timeouts there to stop the clock after each down. So you get the 4th down, you don't score, you kick the field goal. I think that right there would have been the way to go. You botched yourself into a corner once it ended up in that situation with just 9 seconds to go and no timeouts. And then, you come, a lot of people have talked about the play call being bad. Now that I've thought about it, I don't think it was that terrible. I think you needed the extra guys in there, that bunch formation to protect Aguilar because you wanted to give him a chance to throw the ball away if nothing was there. So he had to have a little bit of time to read the play and to see what to do. And the play would have been there if the throw would have been a little better. And then you also just got to credit Alabama for making a good play because you kind of got boxed into that situation. So that's the game to me. Like if you execute there, who knows how that game plays out.
Yeah, you're right in it. They scored 28 offensive points and you scored 20, except there you would have had an additional 7. So you would have had 27. And they scored 28 offensive points. If you cut out, you would also have to cut out the safety in that case.
Yeah, and Ben Hall's right. You got to throw the ball some pace to the outside there so the defender can make a play on it. Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. The game can really speed up on you. I know it's easy sitting on your couch, saying you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. I do think maybe we've been a little harsh on them on end of game moments, but I do think they need to tighten some stuff up there. My theory on that is that Heupel doesn't like to spike the ball, especially in that situation, because he doesn't trust his team not to false start. And I don't blame him. That's probably his fault because, I mean, ultimately the penalties have got to get better moving forward. You cannot keep being one of the most penalized teams in the country and win games on the road. That's something you can't do. But I think he just doesn't trust his team to get lined up and to execute, spiking the ball there, clocking it.
Another update, Zach. This is from somebody screenshotted Eric Kane. So apologies to Eric, but look, bro, I know it's paywalled. This is a different situation. I wouldn't normally do you like this.
Yeah.
I like Eric, but here's what he just said on VolQuest. He said, Tony met with the team after the scrimmage today, and he said he doesn't know what he's going to do. So clearly there's still a decision to be made, and he has not informed his team or anybody at the university that he is leaving yet. Oh,
I mean, at some point, the Giants are going to say, look, we're taking a gamble hiring a college coach to begin with, because they are. I mean, the whole reason we thought that this would never happen is because we didn't think an MLB team would be willing to hire a sitting college coach with no minor league or MLB experience. At some point, they're going to be like, hey, dude, like we got to know something.
Exactly. I lay with the fact or the idea that the longer it draws out, the more you're in his head, and maybe the more likely he is to stay at Tennessee. So hopefully that's the case. But to go back to the Alabama game, some folks were commenting about me and Crompton's show. Crompton was very adamant that it was the player's fault because I came in really hot and was just saying, why does Heupel suck in these games? Why does he suck? It's across multiple teams. It's across multiple years. He goes on the road after 6 p.m. and he stinks. So what is it? What's the through line there? Because if the game's played at noon in, Death Valley, the team comes out hot and they play really well. And if it's played at 6 o'clock, they suck out loud. So what exactly is happening here? I was just kind of giving some of those talking points, and he was like, it's all the players. He can't go out there and execute. Please understand also that Jonathan Crompton, it's a fair point, but he is the head coach of a football team. That's his occupation. So he
was a player too, though.
He was also a player. That is true. He's seen it from both sides.
He was, what was he, a freshman on the team that got Fulmer fired?
He was. I don't know if he was a freshman in 07 because he was.
08. 08.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Either way.
Yeah, he had his best year under Kiffin, but yeah, I mean, he's been on both sides of that. Is my point.
Yeah, but I just am kind of like, what is it? Because they come out like more than just the individual in-game coaching decisions. They just look sloppy. Because the way that I saw it, a lot of people were saying Alabama didn't win that game. You lost it. Alabama played mistake-free football.
Yeah, they
didn't do anything super remarkable. There weren't any plays where I was like, holy cow, this team is way better than you. In fact, I think for stretches of the game, you were better than them in the trenches and really brought it. But you screwed up 10 ways to Sunday and shot yourself in the foot all the time with every penalty here, every screw up here, mental mistakes. The arm tack, just the tackling, throw me off a cliff. Like, what are we doing? So and going into even the individual pieces, a lot of people roasting Tim Banks. In my opinion, the defense did enough in that game to win. Were they good? Absolutely not. That tackling was piss poor. But they only scored 28 offensive points, and your team averages 40 points a game. So you should have won. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that Alabama doesn't have the best defense in America. You were killing them on the ground, and you couldn't muster more than 20 points. So that was just my whole thing, where I just go, what is it? Because I get the feeling, we're going to predict here in a second, they'll probably play decently at Kentucky, probably win. Then they'll beat Oklahoma because it's in Neyland. And then eventually, what if that Florida game's a night game? You're going to go in there with Florida being a complete wreck. And you're going to lose is what's going to happen. And we all know it. And it's going to be unexplainable.
They better not make that a night game with an interim coach in Gainesville.
Oh, that's going to be so cursed. So cursed from the beginning. And so I tweeted some of this and people were like, well, you want to fire Heupel? Who are you going to get? I don't want to fire Heupel. I want Heupel to have a prepared football team at 7:45 on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? I don't know.
It is frustrating because you feel like without those mistakes, against Georgia, the few things there at the end, and it's everybody. It's coaching, it's players, it's a group effort at this point, and it's not the whole game. It's just these little moments that lose you games. And you're right, Alabama for the most part didn't make those mistakes. Their quarterback played really well. I was impressed by Ty Simpson. I mean, just listening to him talk, I've been impressed by him all week. He seems like a good leader, a good teammate, and he's a guy that wins games. So he's, credit to him and his journey, the way he's done it. But you just made too many mistakes that you cannot make on the road against a team like that in Tuscaloosa. It just can't happen. And the Tim Banks conversation is one it's really fascinating because I don't think Banks is as complex in some of his schemes. He's not tricking anybody out there, right? Like when that defense wins, especially when Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson sidelined and your secondary being compromised right now with your safety play and having a young, Redmond over there at the other corner spot where they can kind of pick on him. The lack of depth hurts you there. But when that defense wins, it's because they win up front. I mean, it's not because they're tricking the quarterback or they're disguising coverages and confusing him, and they don't, he doesn't know where to go. If they don't get pressure, typically we're seeing these teams execute, against Tim Banks' defense and come out and get first downs. And the most frustrating moment for me, I'm pretty sure everybody saw it on social media if you didn't see it live, was that 3rd and 2. I think it was a 10-point game. It's 3rd and 2, and just everybody drops in the coverage. It's like they were conceding the first down, and that was a huge 3rd down. I mean, you could have stopped there. You still got a chance to really make this a game. And they just all drop into coverage, and you've got a tight end, Cuevas, just right there in the middle of the field. I mean, Simpson could have walked up and handed him the ball almost for the first down. I mean, that was, you basically just gave up in that situation. And I don't know what the answer is because I'm not a defensive coordinator, but to me, I'm like, bring some pressure, guard, the first down marker. And if you get beat deep, you get beat deep, because I don't think they're going deep in that situation, but if they do, they do. But you can't just give it to them. You got to at least try to make something happen there. And there was too many. Like, I felt like Heupel conceded the game at the end too. When they're down 17, and they would have only been 16, but he went for 2 way too early. If he would have kicked the extra point, there would have been a 2-possession game, and the odds are still not in your favor. But at least you have a chance. You kick the field goal there and make it a 2-possession game. You're still in the game. Once you didn't kick the field goal and you didn't score the touchdown on 4th down, the game was over. I mean, you basically waved the white flag in that moment.
Yep. It's a tough look. So that leads us to this week. You have to go on the road in a night spot, 7:45 p.m. to Kentucky, the old Commonwealth, a game that has been comically in Tennessee's favor. You've won 37 out of the last 40 or something like that. So yeah, pretty good chances because Kentucky stinks, but they took Texas to overtime in Lexington this past week. And in some sense, I think a lot of folks would be like, oh, that means maybe they can really put up an effort here. I kind of look at it the opposite way, where I go, they put in everything they had in that game, like emotionally and physically, and they still lost.
Yeah.
And that's going to be crushing. And then now they're just looking at, like, we stink and our coach is probably going to be fired by the end of the year. Like, eventually you turn that corner, and I wonder if that starts this week. And they might just be worn out. And this would be the game. I mean, it doesn't matter who is coaching, what year, when, how, when we show up, Tennessee just beats Kentucky. Like, they just in football. Like, it's the exact inverse of the Florida game where you just go, I don't think we should have beat them, but we did. And that happened for like 5 years straight for a while there.
Well, the only times that they beat Tennessee has been when that, against that coach's for Tennessee's last game against Kentucky. Like Derek Dooley, his last game against Kentucky was 2011. They lost because, Chaney was the interim in 2012 when they beat him. Butch, 2017, last game against Kentucky, lost. He's fired later that year. And then Pruitt, 2020, obviously. So they've only beat really bad Tennessee teams. I think you say all the time, like Tennessee is like, Tennessee to Kentucky is like Georgia to Tennessee at this point, or Alabama, or whatever. It's in their head. Tennessee is their Michigan. I don't know, however you want to phrase it. It's something that just prevents them from being. Even their best teams have not been able to beat some of Tennessee's worst teams at times, like 2018 when Pruitt was there, and they didn't even finish with a winning record. And Kentucky won like 10 games that year, and they still couldn't win. So I'm with you. I think Tennessee will play well in this. I don't think Kentucky will play well. I think they really did give it everything they had emotionally last week. And the Texas offense sucks too. Like, we can't overlook that. Like, they are just not good offensively. So I think Tennessee's a lot better offensively, which is surprising because I didn't expect that coming into the season. I thought Texas would be much better than they have been. Even though they beat Oklahoma, they still weren't good offensively in that game. So I think this is one where you better hope Tennessee responds, and I think it's a big positive if they do. I mean, you still got a lot of big games ahead that you got to win. But if you can come out and respond really well in this game, and the last couple of games up there at Kentucky have been fairly close. I mean, they haven't
Oh yeah.
been blowouts. That last one, you had the Dylan Sampson drive that kind of iced that game. I think you won by 10 points, 28-18, something like that.
I think I saw some today that the last 4 have been decided by 6 points or less.
Yeah, I know that the 21 game was the Alante Taylor interception. I think that may have iced that game. You had the Daniel Batuli tackle the 1 year. So there's been some tight ones up there in Lexington. So if you can go up there and win big in a road night game, maybe that gives you some big momentum going into that game with Oklahoma, because on paper, even though you've lost 2 games, you really can't afford to lose another game. If you go 9-3, I don't think Tennessee's gonna make the playoff. I mean, it depends on what happens with the rest of the conference and the rest of the sport. But if Tennessee goes 9-3, with a loss to Florida later in the year, their best win's going to be against Oklahoma. Is that enough to get you in over a 10-2 team from the Big Ten? Probably not, just based on what we've seen from this committee, and Tennessee doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt. So you pretty much have to win out. But I think Tennessee's going to be favored. I think they'll be favored against Florida, even though they probably shouldn't be given the history, but I think they will be favored in that game. On paper, every game is very winnable for Tennessee down the stretch. The Vanderbilt game will be tougher than we expected, but I still think you're more talented, and it's at home where Tennessee does typically play well. Both teams will be up for that game. We'll see what happens with Vanderbilt, but this team can still get to the playoff. But I think you really got to turn things around and make a statement with this Kentucky game to give yourself that momentum going into November, because Johnny Majors, they remember what you do in November, so this is going to be a huge one for Tennessee.
Yeah, now's the time to lock in. And yeah, it was 28-18 last year, 33-27, way too close the year before. And then 40, I forgot the 44-6, the total beatdown. Levis threw like 4 interceptions.
Yeah, that was in Knoxville though. So
yeah, and then 45-42, super close the year before that.
I think that was the Alante Taylor game.
Yeah, and Heupel's first year.
Yeah,
I remember sweating that. That was like the quintessential Heupel experience, back and forth, crazy offense. Yeah. Well, let's get it on record. I'll give you my prediction. My folks that listen to the show regularly know my policy. You beat Kentucky until you don't. Just like with Florida. You lose to Florida until you don't, in the swamp at least. And so Tennessee's winning. Cutter Boley, unimpressed. I mean, I watched a decent chunk of that Texas game, even though it was during Tennessee's game. No, it was right before. That's why I watched some of it. And so their defense is admirable, I would say, but your offense is really good. Their offense is really bad, and your defense, it's out there. They play. You're good up front. You can absolutely match them up front, and I think you should be killing Cutter Boley in this game. Like, that should be easy. And so I think this is going to be one where Tennessee gets a little bit of frustration out and gets back on track. I think Kentucky fans are out. Like, it's over. They want Stoops gone. They'll show up because it's Tennessee. But, I'll go, what's it going to be? Like 37-24.
That's not far off from what I have in my head. I don't think, in the past, a couple of times you've seen Stoops think that, okay, we got to try to match. Like, he's went with various things, like try to slow it down, try to match what Tennessee's doing. I think this is definitely going to be one of those, try to slow the game down and suck up as much clock as you possibly can and try to limit Tennessee's possessions. I think you'll definitely see that approach from Kentucky in this game, because really that's the only chance that Kentucky would have in this game, right? Is turn it into just a slugfest where you keep the ball away from Tennessee as much as possible. But I don't know how possible that will be, because Tennessee's defense, as weird as it's been this season, when they give up all these yards, they make big plays as well as any defense in the country. They get after the quarterback. They create turnovers. So there's this weird, like, Jekyll and Hyde thing where they'll get gashed on the ground, but then they'll turn the ball over. And then I think against Kentucky, they'll probably do that. I still think Kentucky will move the ball some, just because Tennessee's defense has been prone to giving up some of those, big running plays or the zone coverage, right? Like, we all know that's a problem for Tennessee. I think Kentucky will try to exploit some of that. So I think it will be something like Tennessee 34, Kentucky 17, because I don't think Tennessee will get enough possessions to score, 40 or 50 points.
That's a very fair point. I I am assuming I think you get a defensive score or nearly, maybe a couple turnovers that equal 14 points. When you start with good field position, something like that. And this needs to be, it's not an easy get right game, but this is as close to playing at Vanderbilt as you're going to get without playing at Vanderbilt. So, I think this is a fine game for Tennessee. Thank goodness it's Kentucky after that piece of crap against Alabama. And as you said, we're not even going to talk about what a Kentucky loss would mean because all of the last three guys, that was the end. That was the beginning of the end.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know what I would say at that point.
It was a bad Kentucky team.
We would just find out that next Monday, I guess, what my thoughts would be. Because I don't even know what they would be in that situation. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think this is a huge game where you need to make a statement, though. I mean,
yes.
After what happened at Alabama, if you can come out and play a clean game, there's still going to be questions about you, especially, from a national level. And that's fine. That stuff doesn't really matter. It doesn't, it's just opinions, right? So I think if you can go out and play well, even though it's Kentucky, it's still on the road, it's still at night, you can build some confidence and go into that Oklahoma game with some momentum. Because that really is the key, right? If you win that Oklahoma game, you got what, a bye in New Mexico State, so you got time to get a little bit healthy for those last two games that would just pretty much determine the outcome of your season. Now, somebody said in the comments they don't think Tennessee gets in at 10-2. It's too early to know because you just don't know what the rest of the sport's going to look like. I mean, we still got 5-6 weeks of the season left, so a lot can transpire. So we really don't know what it's going to look like. I do think not having a win against Alabama or Georgia is going to hurt you when it comes time for the playoff rankings, the final playoff rankings, because that win against Alabama last year is really what propped you up and made you kind of like even if people didn't like Tennessee, it was hard to argue against Tennessee because they're trying to argue for Alabama to be in at 9-3 last year. Well, Tennessee's got to be in at 10-2 with a win over Alabama then, and you don't have that this season.
I mean, it was a little too close for comfort last year. And
Kyle makes a good point there, too, though.
If you go 10-2, your two losses to Alabama and Georgia, two of the best teams in the country, I think you get in. I agree.
Yeah.
I think you definitely get in, even though you wouldn't have just like a great signature win or anything like that. But Oklahoma, that's going to be a 9-3, maybe a 10-2 team themselves. So
I hope they're not. I hope they are bad enough that Brent Venables gets fired and he's the defensive coordinator at Tennessee next year. That is my hope and dream.
Yeah, the one coach, like maybe if we can get Heupel's other friend fired at his school, then maybe he'll hire that friend here.
Yes,
since he only hires friends.
Speaking of which, I wouldn't be surprised if Jay Norvell is on the staff at some point after he got fired at Colorado State. He's another Oklahoma guy that was there with Heupel. Him and Heupel got fired together. In fact, I believe, in 2014.
Jay Norvell will be an offensive analyst here before you know it. So, that's it. Say your prayers about Tony Vitello. But like we said, the latest we heard that is still. Let me check it one more time. Let me refresh. Just make sure that he didn't go straight from there. And
it'll probably be like 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight Eastern time. Something happens. There'll be a Jeff Passan or Ken Rosenthal tweet that pops up.
It feels like he has to go from here and make a decision.
I don't think you can drag this out another 24 hours. I don't think you can drag this out another 12 hours. I mean, maybe he does, but I just don't think I think the Giants at some point are be like, listen, we got to know something because we're competing against 7 other MLB teams for a manager. If you say no. Yep.
Still Kane's update, which I'm sure he probably texted a current player on the team or a manager or something. That's the last thing. Tony still hasn't made a decision.
That's crazy, man. I can't believe that he went through all this today. Speculation, right here. But what if he went into this today like, I'm leaving. I'm going to tell him I'm leaving. And all the fans came out and he's like, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I think that's plausible.
Maybe, man. Like, seriously, he's so emotional and loyal and just like that type of guy that probably speaks to. Maybe. Who knows? We'll
I don't
see.
think it's going to be money. Greg, talking about money. I don't think it's going to be money because he's already more highly paid than a lot of MLB managers right now. So I don't. Yes, they'll have to pay him, especially going to San Francisco. You know, you're not going to go there for the same amount of money as you're making at Tennessee because the cost of living, taxes, you know, that's going to be accounted for. But this isn't some deal where he's barely making any money at Tennessee. I mean, he's getting paid well at Tennessee, so I don't think it's a salary thing for him.
No, definitely not. It's just gonna be straight from the heart. I mean, he probably will get a raise if he stays at Tennessee.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, that's a given. But yeah, this is gonna be a heart decision for him, and hopefully his heart resides in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think we'll see.
Guess we'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Charlie Burst, Zach Reagan. Thanks to everybody who watched, commented. It was a ton of fun. It would have been more fun if we knew that Tony Vitello was staying in Knoxville. Nakos. Hold on. The 72-hour window has passed and still no decision from Tony Vitello. That's from
Nakos. Oh, thanks, Pete. We knew that.
Take it, Pete. According to a source close to the situation, Tony Vitello told his team this afternoon that he's yet to decide on the Giants job. So, yeah, same thing from Eric Kane. All right. That's it. Maybe we'll be back when
maybe.
If Vitello decides to leave, we won't be back. If he decides to stay, maybe we will do a follow-up because I'll want to have a party. So
yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
That's it. Thanks to everybody for watching. Couldn't do it without you. And we will talk to y'all hopefully tomorrow about Tony Vitello staying.
See you guys later.